The home that forgot me, a story of betrayal, survival, and what forgiveness really costs. I was 16 when my parents decided they were done being parents. There wasn't a big fight, no screaming match, no broken dishes, just a quiet dinner. My mom's cold voice cutting through the clinking of silverware. If you think you're grown enough to make your own choices, then you can live with the consequences. And my dad, staring down at his plate, didn't say a word. That silence, it said everything. By midnight, I was standing on the front porch with a backpack and a blanket. The porch light flicked off behind me. The first night was the coldest. The second, the loneliest. The third, I stopped feeling anything at all. I remember sleeping behind an old gas station, using my jacket as a pillow, pretending it was just a bad dream I'd wake up from. But when the fourth morning came, I woke to the sound of a car pulling up. My dad's truck. He didn't get out right away, just sat there, engine humming. When he finally did, he looked like he hadn't slept either. "Get in," he said. No apology, no explanation, just two words, sharp and tired. I got in, because where else could I go? They didn't talk about it after that. Not once. It was as if those 4 days never happened. Mom acted like she'd just misplaced me for a bit. Dad mowed the lawn. Dinner went back to quiet. But something had shifted. They thought they'd scared me straight, taught me some kind of lesson. What they didn't realize was they'd already lost me. I didn't trust them anymore. I didn't love them the same. I was home, but I was gone. Fast forward 15 years. I'm 31 now. Got my own apartment, a decent job, and a habit of locking every door twice. I don't call home much. When I do, it's usually because I feel guilty for not trying harder. Guilt I can't explain, because I don't actually miss them. Then, a few months ago, my dad called. His voice sounded older, thinner. "Your mom's been having health problems," he said. "It'd be nice if you visited once in a while." I hesitated, because what do you say to people who once decided you didn't belong to them? "I'll think about it," I said, and I hung up. Weeks passed. Then I got another call. This time from my mom. "We're not getting any younger," she said, a bitter laugh slipping through. "You'll understand when you have kids." The irony almost made me laugh. Kids. I couldn't even imagine bringing a child into a world where parents treat love like a weapon. Still, something inside me cracked. Curiosity, maybe. Guilt, definitely. So I went. The house looked smaller, colder. The paint was peeling, the porch sagging, like time itself had started to punish them. Mom was in a chair by the window, her hair gray, her eyes still sharp and critical. Dad sat beside her, older, quieter, the same man who had driven me home that morning without saying sorry. When they saw me, Mom smiled, that same distant, polite smile she used on strangers. "You came," she said. "Yeah," I muttered. "Guess I did." For a while, we talked about nothing. The weather, the neighbors, the garden that didn't bloom anymore. Then Dad cleared his throat. "You've been distant," he said softly. "We were hoping you'd care a little more. You know, now that we're older." And that's when something inside me finally broke. I looked at them, these two people who taught me love could vanish overnight, and realized they wanted forgiveness, not connection. They wanted the illusion of family without earning it. So I said it. The thing I'd been holding in for 15 years. "You kicked me out when I was 16. You didn't check if I was okay. You didn't care if I ate, slept, or died in a ditch somewhere. And now you want me to pretend that didn't happen because time made you old." Mom's face went pale. Dad's eyes filled with something that almost looked like regret, but I couldn't tell if it was real. "We were trying to teach you responsibility," Mom whispered. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. "No. You were trying to teach me fear." They didn't say much after that. I left soon after, walked out into the same driveway where I'd stood all those years ago, backpack in hand. Except this time, I wasn't 16, and I wasn't crying. That night, I sat in my car for a long time, thinking about how love can rot when left in the dark. How sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that not everyone deserves a second chance, even if they share your blood. Now, they call sometimes. I let it ring. Sometimes I text back just to make sure they're alive. But care, love, those things were buried a long time ago. Somewhere between night 2 and night 3, when a 16-year-old version of me realized no one was coming to save him. So am I the asshole for not caring as they grow old? I don't know. Maybe. But they taught me something I'll never forget. Love without safety isn't love. It's debt, and I've finally paid mine in full. Party the night they threw me away. Time has a strange way of reopening wounds you thought were healed. Sometimes all it takes is a phone call. It had been 3 months since my last visit, the one that ended in silence and slammed doors. I told myself I was done, that I didn't owe them another second of my peace. But guilt is stubborn. It doesn't leave quietly. So when my sister Emily called one evening with a shaking voice, I answered. "It's Mom," she said. "She's in the hospital. You should come." I almost didn't. But something, maybe duty, maybe curiosity, made me drive the 3 hours back to that town I swore I'd never see again. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and old grease. I found Dad sitting in the waiting room, staring at his hands like they were someone else's. He looked smaller, defeated. "She's been asking for you," he said without looking up. I didn't answer. Didn't know what to say to a man who once watched me walk out into the dark and didn't follow. When I finally went into her room, I almost turned around. Mom looked frail, a ghost of the woman who once ruled our house like a fortress. Her eyes opened slowly, focusing on me with effort. "You came," she whispered. "Emily called," I said. "Said it was serious." "It is," she breathed. "That's why I need to tell you something before I go." I crossed my arms. "If this is another excuse, it's not," she interrupted weakly. "It's the truth." She took a shaky breath, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes. Not the cold, controlling kind, but the kind that comes when you've carried a secret for too long. "Do you remember the night we kicked you out?" "How could I forget?" I said bitterly. "It wasn't because of you," she whispered. "That stopped me." "What are you talking about?" She stared at the ceiling, voice trembling. "You were never the problem. It was your father. He wanted you gone." My stomach dropped. "What?" "He thought you knew," she continued. "About the affair." Silence. The kind that fills every corner of a room until you can't breathe. "He was seeing someone," she said. "A woman from his work. It went on for months. I found out, and instead of owning up, he told me you'd seen them together. That you were going to tell me." I blinked, confused. "I didn't even know." "I know," she said softly. "I know that now. But back then, I was furious. I told him if it was true, had ruined everything. And he panicked. He said he'd handle it. That night, he told me he'd set you straight, that you'd been disrespectful, lying, rebellious. I believed him." She paused, tears running down her hollow cheeks. "He told me you needed to learn responsibility. I didn't realize he meant throwing you out." For a moment, I just stood there feeling the air leave the room. All these years, all the nights I wondered what I'd done wrong. And the answer was nothing. It wasn't a punishment. It was a cover-up. My father's guilt had become my sentence. "You both let me think it was my fault," I said quietly. She closed her eyes. I wanted to believe it. It was easier than admitting we'd failed you. I laughed. A small, broken sound. "You didn't just fail me. You destroyed me." She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. I couldn't bear her touch. Not after what I'd just heard. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because I need you to know I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "And because he won't say it. He never will." "You're right," I said. "He won't." She looked at me, desperate. "Has your father?" "He was," I said coldly. "A long time ago." That night, I didn't stay at the hospital. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town and sat in the dark staring at the ceiling, trying to feel something. Anger, sadness, relief, anything. But all I felt was exhaustion. Like I'd been carrying their sins for so long I didn't know where mine ended and theirs began. At dawn, I went to the diner across from the hospital. I didn't plan to see him there, but there he was, sitting alone, stirring a cup of coffee gone cold. "You look tired," he said when I sat down. "You look guilty," I replied. He didn't answer, just stared at the table like it could save him. "She told me," I said. His eyes flickered, but he didn't act surprised. "About the affair, about why you kicked me out." He sighed. That same heavy, cowardly sigh I remembered from childhood. "It was a mistake," he muttered. "Which part?" I snapped. "Cheating, lying, or abandoning your kid to protect yourself. You don't understand." "No." I cut him off. "I understand perfectly. You were scared. You didn't want to lose your comfortable little life, so you threw mine away instead." He looked up then, and for the first time I saw something real in his eyes. "Shame. I thought you'd forgive me one day," he said quietly. You thought wrong, I replied. He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly, eyes glistening like he'd finally accepted what I'd known for years. That forgiveness isn't something you earn by waiting. It's something you build by being human. And had stopped being that a long time ago. Mom died 2 weeks later. Dad called, left a message. I didn't go to the funeral. Instead, I drove out to the coast. I found a quiet spot by the water and scattered a handful of wildflowers into the waves. Not for her. For the kid I used to be. The one they abandoned and never came back for. Sometimes people tell me I'll regret cutting them out completely. That someday I'll wish I'd made peace before it was too late. But here's the truth. I did make peace. Just not with them. I made peace with myself. With the silence, with the fact that some homes aren't meant to be returned to because they stopped being home long before you left. So am I the asshole for not caring as they grow old? Maybe by their definition, but by mine. Am finally free. Party the letter beneath the floorboards. It had been almost 5 years since Mom's funeral. 5 years since I swore never to set foot in that house again. I kept my word. Until the lawyer called. Your father passed away last month, he said flatly. He left the house to you and your sister. You're both required to sign off before we can sell it. I thought I'd feel nothing. Instead, I felt curiosity. A part of me. The part that still woke up some nights remembering that cold porch and the echo of your on now. Wanted to see what remained, not of the house but of him. When I pulled into the old driveway, everything looked smaller. The paint was peeling, the grass overgrown, and the porch light, the same one that once flickered as I begged to be let back in, was burned out completely. Emily was already there, standing by the door. She'd changed. Older, sharper, but still had that guarded expression. The one that said she knew more than she'd ever admit. Didn't think you'd come, she said quietly. Neither did I replied. We stepped inside. The air was stale, thick with the smell of dust and old regrets. Every corner whispered memories. Mom humming in the kitchen, Dad's voice booming down the hall. Me hiding in my room counting seconds until it was safe to breathe again. Let's just get this over with, Emily muttered, heading for the study. The lawyer said we need to check if there are any documents left behind. The study, Dad's sanctuary. No one was ever allowed in there. I followed her, and the moment we opened the door, a chill ran through me. Everything was exactly the same. His leather chair, the bookshelves, even his half-finished crossword on the desk. Except one thing, a loose floorboard near the window. It caught my eye because of how wrong it looked, slightly raised, with faint scratches along the edges, like someone had pried it open before. I knelt down. You see this? Probably just warped wood, Emily said, but her voice trembled. I pulled it up anyway. Underneath was a small metal box, old, rusted, and sealed with a single lock. The kind of box you'd hide if you had something to lose. There was no key, but a quick twist with a screwdriver from the desk cracked it open. Inside were stacks of letters, all yellowed with time, and one envelope on top, labeled in my father's handwriting, for whoever comes looking for the truth. Emily and I stared at each other. Do you want to? She began. I'll read it, I said. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And it's probably for the best. I never had the courage to face what I did. You were right, son. Everything your mother said in that hospital bed, every word, was true. I ruined you to save myself. But there's something she didn't know, something no one knew. I paused, glancing at Emily. Her expression was unreadable. It wasn't just guilt that made me throw you out. It was fear. The next lines felt like a knife. A few months before everything fell apart, there was money missing from my company. I was accused, but I wasn't the one who took it. Your mother thought it was me. The truth is, it was Emily. I looked up sharply. What? Emily froze. That's a lie. But the letter went on. She was young, reckless, and wanted to run away. When I found out, she begged me not to tell your mother. Said she'd fix it, that she just needed time. I covered for her. But when the rumors spread, your mother started asking questions, and I panicked. I told her you'd been the one sneaking around, that you'd stolen something, that you couldn't be trusted. My heart sank. It wasn't just the affair. It wasn't just betrayal. It was layers of lies, stacked so high they'd buried me alive. Emily, I said quietly, is this true? She shook her head, eyes wide, but her voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I was 17, I thought I could fix it. So you let him ruin me. He said he'd protect you. she whispered. That it was temporary. That he'd tell the truth once things calmed down. But he never did. I laughed bitterly. He never did because it was easier this way. I became the scapegoat, the distraction, the failure. Well, you got to keep your clean image. She started to cry, but I couldn't feel sympathy. Not this time. I'd spent years drowning in guilt that wasn't mine. You both used me, I said. You let me walk out of this house with nothing. And you never came after me. I tried, she said through tears. You wouldn't answer. You had years to tell me the truth. Silence, the kind that doesn't fade. It lingers like smoke after fire. I folded the letter and put it back in the box. Then I stood up. Sell the house, keep the money. I don't care anymore. Where are you going? Emily asked weakly. Somewhere this family can't find me again. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain. I stopped by the porch, looked back one last time. That house had been everything once. Home, prison, battlefield. Now it was just ruins. As I turned away, thunder rolled across the sky. Low, distant, but growing louder. It felt right, like the world itself was finally closing the chapter. That night, in a small roadside motel, I couldn't sleep. The letter lay on the table beside me. I thought about burning it, but something stopped me. Because maybe, just maybe, someone would need proof one day. Proof that not all monsters live in stories. Some live in the same house as you. And as I drifted into sleep, I realized something. I used to think betrayal was about love, about people turning their backs, but it's not. Betrayal is about choice, and my family made theirs long before I ever had the chance to make mine. I woke up the next morning lighter, free, for real this time, because sometimes the only way to heal is to stop waiting for an apology and start writing your own ending.